Swishers, it's Tuesday, which means it's time for another daily Swish update. How you guys doing? You guys doing all right? Are you shaking in your shoes a little bit about the brackets? Are you getting a little anxious? Because I'm getting a little anxious. I'm getting excited, okay? So, Selection Monday is next Monday, which is March 15th, and it will air on ESPN at 7 p.m. Eastern Time. I'm going to be watching. Hopefully you guys will get a chance to watch because that's the biggest night for college teams, okay? But let's go ahead and get started talking about this, right? Okay? Because that's what you want to hear. You came here to watch this to see what I have to say about what's going on in the NCAA world. So let's get started, okay? So it's obvious that the number one seeds have already made their impact, okay? They're already set. They're already done. They're ready to go. They're just waiting now, right? Okay? Stanford looks to be the overall number one, along with UConn, Texas A&M, South Carolina. That's obvious, okay? We already know that. And it looks like that might be your Final Four in the end. Just saying, just throwing those predictions out. But let's not get too ahead of ourselves, right? Because anything can happen in the bracket. I'll tell you what, when my bracket gets busted, I'm pulling my hair out because I'm like, what? Okay? So, hopefully you guys are getting your brackets ready because I'm getting mine ready as well. But let's go ahead and talk about these other teams before we get to Selection Monday, okay? There's some underdog teams right now that could make an impact. They can make or break. They've been struggling for a little bit, and they're fighting their way to get into that last bid, okay? For instance, Notre Dame. Wait a minute. Notre Dame? What? Yes, Notre Dame is still trying to struggle and find their way into the bid. Okay, we're used to seeing them come back consecutively to the NCAA tournament year after year after year, 24 to be exact. Okay, but that was with Muffet McGraw. We don't have Muffet McGraw this year. Okay, we still have a young team. We have a new head coach, and you have some freshmen on that team, and they're still trying to work their way up. They're trying to build back up what they had before, okay? So they're trying to be that legendary team that we've always known Notre Dame to be, that Fighting Irish, right? Okay? But here's how they can find their way back into the game. So one of the ways is if and only if UCF and BYU go out early in the AAC and WCC tournaments, okay? That's the only way that they can find their way back into the tournament, okay? If the favorites win in those two leagues, the Irish could have a chance of coming back in, okay? But if they don't, okay, this could put their streak at risk. Because like I said, we're used to seeing the Fighting Irish in the NCAA tournament year after year after year, right? Okay, but like I said, that was with Muffet McGraw. We're still a baby team, okay? And there's nothing wrong with that, okay? Make it a learning experience. Make it a way for them to come back, look, okay, this is what we need to work on. And these freshmen, as well as the head coach, can come back and say, okay, this is what we need to work on. This is how we're going to be a better team. This is how we're going to keep our legendary name, okay, the Fighting Irish, okay? This is how we're going to be able to come back into the NCAA tournament and wow everybody again. Because, honestly speaking, I kind of miss the Fighting Irish, Notre Dame, in these NCAA tournaments. I kind of miss them being in the headlines. I kind of miss seeing, you know, what great things the Fighting Irish has done, right? I kind of miss that rivalry between UConn and Notre Dame. It's one of the games that I look forward to the most, right? Because it's a rivalry game that I don't ever want to miss. Just like when you had Pat Summitt versus Gino Auriemma, okay? Two of the greatest coaches, including Muffet McGraw. She's a great, amazing coach, okay? And I know this new head coach will be able to step it up and be just as great as Muffet McGraw, if not better in the coming years, right? Okay? So you gotta be patient with Notre Dame right now. And like I said, give it about maybe a year and a half, 2 years, and this team will be able to be back up at the Final Four. It'll be a great rivalry matchup again, and Notre Dame will be out to do great and amazing things once more, right? Okay. So, DePaul, Mississippi State, and Wake Forest. Okay, another team struggling to get into that bid spot, right? Okay, if DePaul's losses to Butler may be enough for them to take their losses and just go. Okay, but we're just gonna have to see. Okay, there are 2 large bids that would allow DePaul to be able to hold on to a spot. Okay, Mississippi State didn't do as bad towards the end of the season, but they kind of cut it close. Okay, now if Wake Forest is also in the same situation. Okay, so these 3 teams are all fighting for that bid spot. These are the teams that we're used to seeing in the NCAA tournament year after year after year. Especially Mississippi State, man, they just come out of nowhere and just blow everybody out of the water. Okay. South Dakota State is starting to be a favorite pick in the Summit Tournament. Okay, they're already in the 64-team field, but if they win the Summit Tournament, no bubble tournaments would be affected. Okay, Michigan State, not being an official bubble state, but are able to be the first team above the last 4 in. Okay, but if they leave the Big Ten tournament and are knocked out early, that would be a devastation to their NCAA tournament hopes. Okay, they would need to defeat Indiana if they have any hopes to lock a bid into the tournament. Okay, so these are your last 4 in. Okay, could they make that impact, or are they just going to pack their bags and say we tried and we can come back next year? Okay, what do you think? What are your predictions? Do you think Notre Dame could slide back in at the last minute? Do you think Mississippi State, Wake Forest, DePaul? I mean, teams that we're used to seeing. This is why they said this is going to be the most impactful NCAA tournament by far. Okay, because we're used to seeing these big teams up in the top bids, but they're not. They're fighting for it. So, what are your predictions? Do you think Notre Dame could get their way in? Do you think DePaul? I mean, what do you think? Do you think South Dakota State is going to be able to take us by storm and surprise us all? Mississippi State, what do you think is going on with Mississippi State? We're used to seeing them at the top too, and now it's like, wait a minute, it's an impactful season, guys. So, what are your predictions? And what do you think Selection Monday is going to be like next Monday? Like I said, be on the lookout for that because that's going to be on Monday on ESPN at 7 p.m. Eastern Time, Monday, March 15th. Okay, so be sure to watch it. Be alert. Be ready for some big surprises because I know I am. I'm going to get my brackets ready and I'm going to start showing you guys my brackets on the next episode. But until then, guys, this is going to be an amazing tournament. I'm ready. You should be ready. So, join my Facebook group page if you haven't already. Okay? Go ahead and find WNBA Daily Swish where I give you the daily updates of what's going on. I give you news on the NCAA tournaments, championships that have just been happening. Also, updates on the WNBA world because we're getting closer and closer and closer to the WNBA season. Woohoo! I'm so excited. I hope you guys are excited for that as well. So, like I said, get there, tell your friends, subscribe to the page, okay? Get to the WNBA Daily Swish Facebook group page. And like I said, if it ain't hot, it ain't a swish.